MMAOddsBreaker, of course, that's Big John McCarthy. There's a lot to talk about from a repping standpoint over the last couple 3 weeks. Like there's been some kind of little minor stuff going on, but the big thing has got to be Shields and Palhares. Like, what the hell?
What the hell? You tell me. I'm stupid. Come on, man.
All right. So for most of you at home that don't know, I took Big John McCarthy's course twice, passed it finally. Have been reffing. John's my mentor in reffing. So we have these conversations all the time. So I'm kind of giving you a sneak peek into what our conversations usually are like. It's minus him going, dumbass, you know better. That I'm sure he won't say it on camera. So let's go to the back locker room. We're having our individuals. I've got Palhares as my I'm the ref for him and Shields. I know he has a reputation for holding submissions on too long. He's already had a problem in New Jersey where he got suspended and fined. He got removed from the UFC because of this reason. It's a known thing. You give him a little bit of a leeway because you know Murilo Bustamante, when he fought Linland tapped, let go, got back in. They did again. Like the whole story.
So we're going to go back 15 years as an excuse? Nah. Let's be honest.
So now I have him. I'm in the back locker room. I tell him the do's and don'ts. And then I'm going to remind him, hey, look, if you hold on to submission too long, even though you win, I still can stop the fight and say that you lost, even though that the guy's tapping, because you didn't obey my commands. So understand that once you put the submission on, you got to let go when I tell you to let go. Right? That's the pseudo conversation. Okay. We go to the fight. We have eye gouging.
Let's go back to the locker room real quick, because if we're gonna talk to Palhares, some of the things that we're gonna say, and we're definitely gonna talk about, hey, if you put a submission hold on him and you feel him tap and you're not sure, when I tell you stop and you're gonna feel my hands coming down and I'm gonna be working at putting pressure against, tell you stop, you will release that hold. You're putting him in a position where you're now telling him, hey, I expect you to release it. If you're in a position where, you know what, Jake Shields, you get something and he's tapping on top of your chest and I haven't said stop, I am expecting you to let go. You see it, I'll see it. I may not have reacted in a fast time. I want you to be letting go of that hold. The fight is over. And you put it in his mind, I will not accept you doing something of you're going to prove a point. You're going to hold on to something. And really what occurred in that fight is not even holding on to something. Because you know, like, if you and I roll, Frank, and you catch me in a submission and you've got it and you start to feel that tap, you're going to be letting go. Because you won. That the tap is, it's me acknowledging you got me. You know what? You had me. You could break it. You're the guy. Okay, and especially in a fight, it's that moment when you feel that tap. That should be the time that, man, you're letting go of it because you're excited. You just got that victory. It's time to celebrate. This is what I'm working hard for. If you watch the fight, the real problem with what Palhares does is, you know, when Jake, as a referee, you know, when Jake takes him down and Palhares goes for the Kimura, he does a really nice job with that Kimura sweep. But it's the sweep works because Jake knows it's tight. Jake gives up position, which is telling you as the referee, oh, it's tight. And so you want to put yourself in the right position to help that fighter. If it gets to the point where we're going to have a tap or we see damage on that hold, we're going to stop the fight. And Jake actually taps pretty quick. He taps when he knows not that it's really to the point he can't take anymore. He knows I'm caught, I'm not getting out. And he taps early. And from that point, Palhares takes that hold and he cranks that thing back about 14 more inches. And that's the problem with what we have. Because if you're in that position of Palhares, you have a choice. You've got that hold and you feel that tap and you say, oh, I'm going to hold this until the referee tells me to stop. I'm not going to let go of it, but I'm not going to continue to crank it. Because if I continue to crank it, I am trying to injure my opponent after he has said, you got me, I'm done, I tap. That's a problem.
So he's known to do this all the time. We've warned him in the locker room. He immediately comes to it. So now we'll get the eye gouging here in a second, but we're still on the submission. At the end of that fight, I saw it was on too long. I'm assuming you saw it was on too long. We have to assume that Steve Mazzagatti saw it was on too long. At that point, what can the ref do? We're at home, we're sitting on the couch, or we're in the arena, sitting in the chairs. We're going, oh, Palhares wins because you got the submission. From my standpoint, I'm like, at this point, look, I told you in the locker room, you got to let go as soon as you start feeling the tap. I jumped in, and I saw you move it 14 more inches after Jake was already tapping, so we all knew that he was tapping. I jumped in, tried to pull you off. You're not coming off. At this point, I can wave off the fight and disqualify him for not obeying.
The fight's over.
Okay, fight's done. But I can still change the outcome of the fight at this point, still as an official. Correct?
Why?
Because he
didn't.
I'm
asking you why.
Because he didn't obey my commands. He didn't obey my.
Okay, so what is that?
Damn it! You got to put me on the spot. It's crap. I don't know the term. There's a proper terminology for it.
All right. We have 2 rule violations when it comes to unified rules. We have unsportsmanlike conduct, because if you're trying to crank someone after they've tapped, you're being an unsportsmanlike prick. Second, we have flagrantly disregarding the direction or orders of the referee. When you have a referee saying stop and you're not stopping, you are flagrantly disregarding his command. That is a violation of the rules. Either one of those you can be disqualified for. And you've heard me as a fighter. I've come in and talked to you, and I've told you, Frank, I don't care if you don't like your opponent. I don't care if you have heat with him. When I tell you stop, I expect you to stop all offensive actions. Okay? Always defend yourself, but all offense starts. So if you're holding on a submission, let go of it. If you're punching and going after him, stop. Anything you do after I tell you to stop can mean me taking points off your scorecard or taking you completely out of the fight. If you can end up, you have a rear naked choke on your opponent, and he's 2 seconds away from going out, and at 1 second you hear me telling you stop, and you have my hand starting to pull at that hold to break it, and you decide I want to try to hold it, I guarantee you, yes, your opponent may go unconscious, and yes, you're standing over him, but you're standing over him as a loser, because I'm going to take your win away from you. I'm going to disqualify you. Now, I've said that. You've heard me say it as a referee to people. You've heard me say it when you're a fighter. Why am I saying that? Because this is about competition. The sport of MMA is not about anger. It's not about, the end all in a street fight. This could be the end. We're going to fight to the death. It's about competition. And you need to respect your opponent, because anybody that steps in against you in a fight, although you may not like them, that's okay. Anybody that has the balls to step in that cage and square up with you man to man deserves your respect. You beat them, congratulations. But don't take it to that other point, because that's the difference between sport and now doing something that violates law.
So go back to Mir Nogueira. Mir ends up having to break Nogueira's arm because he doesn't tap. Now at that point, it's a judgment call for the official to go, hey, look, I think it's going to break. I'm going to jump in and stop it.
Can't do it. As a pro, you can't do it.
It's a great stoppage, because there was no tap, there was no position. Mir kept cranking it, and then once it breaks, now we get to stop it. Just like Sylvia and Mir when he broke Tim Sylvia's hand, and everyone in the arena was like, Herb, what are you doing? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, slow motion, you see the arm explode. Like, oh, okay, it broke. Right? So perfect stoppages in those 2 situations. This one we have Jake tapping and not pulling off quick enough. I say yes. Mazzagatti should have immediately taken that, changed the outcome of the fight by disqualifying Palhares.
It was an option that was there that he obviously didn't utilize, and I haven't talked to Steve. I don't know, what his thought process was, but in all of this, you've got to look at, and you've got to put responsibility on the referee. The referee you're there, and I've talked about it with you. The fighter's safety is your number one thing. And when you, as the official, have a fighter that telling you, I have become overwhelmed, I can't stop what's occurring, and I need help. And if you don't help that fighter at that time, then you're not doing your job. Your job is to relieve the pressure on that hold. Do we not go over and when I sit there and I make you do all these different holds, and I make you go take this test and do this and show me this. And then we start breaking down. This is how you stop this hold. This is how you unlock this hold. This is how you take the pressure off of this. Why are we doing that? We're doing it for the safety of the fighter, because I want you to go in there, and if you're going to be the official, I want you to be as competent as possible. And with that fight comes to the point where that fighter needs help, you are relieving the pressure on the hold. You're keeping someone from being able to be hurt, instead of just sitting there and hoping, due to your audible call of stop and slapping of your hands, that someone's going to do what they should be doing, because it's not always going to happen, and it's happened before.
Yeah. There's other times. I want to say it was maybe a Jens Pulver fight where someone held up really Kadon's.
BJ held an armbar on Jens Pulver. You can go David Heath and Babalu. Babalu got kicked out of the UFC also because of what he did with David Heath. Same exact thing. Did not go after the breaking of a Darce choke because he didn't understand the Darce choke. And that's where you're looking, you're saying, you've got to be the person that's responsible for the safety of that fighter.
Now, we talked about this before when it was a mix-up down in Brazil. One of the officials screwed up a couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And that official had to, I call it sitting down. He had to be sat down for a little while. Well, he goes back down to the main, the amateur ranks, gets some more lessons in, and then we'll come back up to the pros. But like everybody else, we're human, so we all screw up. When we screw up, just like a baseball player, we get injured. We get our screw-ups are injuries. We get sent back down. We work on the lower levels for a little while, the smaller shows, because the big shows add a lot more stress to you. The opponents are a lot better. I mean, I've seen, and for those of you at home that if you have a chance, fighter, manager, promoter, you need to take Big John's course, because there is a sequence he shows of an official so happy he's finally in the big show and completely shits the bed. And literally at the end of the fight, he's like, I'm never doing this again. And we never saw him again. He just like, this is not for me, and realized it. So there is that situation where these guys are in the big leagues and are not ready for the big leagues or can't handle the big leagues. Mazzagati's been around for a long time. Him and Dana White go back and forth all the time for the UFC stuff. But Dana goes after a lot of people. Went after you for years. I mean, it's just one of those things. With the new current, it's a new deal going on in Nevada State Athletic Commission. Since Kaiser's out, it's still being adapted. Everyone's still trying to feel the new commissioner out, what things are going to happen. You haven't talked to Steve, like you said. You have no idea what was in his mindset. There's going to be that conversation. What were you thinking? What was going on? Because you have to kind of weigh in his view of the fight as well. What do you think is going to happen with Steve now? Because he's been in for a long time. He's been in the media kind of getting beat up by a lot of the bigger name promotion guys, talking about how he's not doing very well as a rep. Is something going to happen to him now on the Nevada side?
I can't tell you. The one thing I can tell you out of Nevada and what they're doing is, Nevada's tough on their officials right now, and they're putting a lot of pressure on them. And you know what? That's for you to stand up to that pressure, and it's for you to perform. Because what they expect out of you, they expect you to perform. They expect you to do the right things. They expect you to take care of the fighter. They expect you to make the right call. And they absolutely expect you to actually err on the side of caution towards the fighter's safety instead of erring to the side of letting the fighter get hurt. What's going to happen with Steve, I don't know. But it's no different than, I tell everybody that I work with, your job is to always be working to evolve. The sport's evolving. What's going on in the sport is different. I can tell you, I was in Brazil, for the Ronda Rousey fight. I learned a new technique that I've never seen before while I was in Brazil, okay? Now I'm gonna show you when I see you.
During the fights, like sitting when you're out of the ring or when you're actually in the ring?
Nope. When I was outside, I was in the back talking with fighters, and I had one of the guys say, "Hey, what about this? I like to do this new thing." And he's got a technique. It's awesome. It's going to be awesome for sweeps. It's awesome in the stand-up and in the clinch situations. This is something I've never seen someone do, but now I see it, so I can take it, and I'm going to show a bunch of different guys, hey, you're going to see this thing. This is where it's going to put pressure. This is what it's going to do, because the more knowledge you have, the better. But that's part of your job as an official, is to be part of our sport. It's to evolve. When's the last time that you actually rolled? Be honest. Oh my God. Okay. Why are you rolling? It's because you love it so much, right? every minute of it sucked.
It's disgusting. And really, it was because I need to get some rolling in because I want to make sure my timing is down. Because for a while, I was reffing 2-3 times a weekend. Like I was literally Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was reffing all the time. Since I made the shift over to Hawaii, I haven't reffed since I left. So it's been a month since I've reffed. I'm like, I gotta start looking at stuff. I gotta start getting in here. So now I'm rolling every day. I'm boxing every day. I'm going to pro practices. I'm not getting hit in the head because I'm not about that anymore. But I'm watching these guys work. What's happening? What are they doing? What's the new stuff coming out? Because it's every 6 months, it's a brand new guy as a champion.
There you go. And if, you got to look and say, if you're not evolving, if you're not part of the sport, you're not doing things to teach yourself new things or to learn new things, the sport's going to pass you by and you're going to make mistakes. And we're all going to make mistakes. Look, none of us are perfect. We're human, but we try to make mistakes on the side of the fighter's safety if we're going to make them. And then if we do make the mistake, we sit there, okay, how did the mistake happen? All right, where's my answer? How do I make it so I don't do that mistake again? Or how do I make it better? Figure out that answer, and then we're going to have to move on. And, what's going to happen with any official? What Nevada's going to do, as far as Steve, I don't know. But, I do believe that Nevada's going to take action against Rousimar Palhares. What's that? Well, okay. And you look at it, and it's obviously Palhares needs to be dealt with. What they're going to do with him, I don't know, but I see he's going to get a fine and he's going to get a suspension. What that is, that's going to be the commissioner's coming up with it. With Jake, although it's understandable what Jake did as far as the punch, it's out of frustration, it's out of anger, and although it's understandable, it still can't happen. You can't have the fighter reacting in that fashion where the fight's over and now he's throwing a punch because, again, it goes outside of the competition realm. So something's going to be done with Jake. And what that is, again, I don't know, but this is for every fighter to learn from these actions of, all right, you know what, if I do that, I need to expect to get spanked because someone's going to spank me over it because I can't do that. I have to represent the sport. I have to represent this athletic commission. I have to represent my sponsor in a certain way that is looked at as respectable and sportsmanlike.
So it's a big change now. We've talked about quite frequently how refs, we just talked about a second ago, refs still need to be training and working in the sport, like getting things done. You and Herb Dean in California run courses to qualify refs and judges, not as frequently as I think you should.
I don't have the time, man.
To be quite honest with you, I think you should be running them a lot more. But it's tough for you guys to find a weekend. It's free because to find a weekend where you're not doing something, it's freaking impossible. You really only have like 2 weekends a year that you're kind of off, and that's when you run your courses. Should a lot of these guys that are active officials and judges right now be coming in and taking your and Herb's courses? Should they be? I mean, obviously you're going to push yours because it's your deal. But I mean, should we be taking? I can come in because I passed your course. I'm allowed to come in and take your course every time. So every time it's active, I'm gonna walk in and take it again because I want to stay up to date on the changes.
And why do I do that?
Because we need to be the best at what we do. Because now the sport's getting into a situation where it's not, this boxer might knock this guy out and be a flash knockout, okay. Or the submission guy might catch an arm bar, it's gonna be okay. But now we're looking at situations where something, like you just said, some brand new technique we haven't even seen yet, all of a sudden now ends a fight and we have no idea how to call it. Was it legal? Was it illegal? Was it a proposition? Was it not proposition? Where the hell was I? Was I in the right position? Was I blocking the camera? Was I in front of one of the judges that couldn't see it? Like, there's a whole game that goes on that people don't understand. With people keep asking, why you walk sideways all the time? Why are you always walking sideways? Because I learned from John, I have to be sideways, otherwise I'm blocking the crowd, I'm blocking the judge, I'm blocking the crowd, I'm blocking the camera, but more importantly, I'm blocking the judge. If the judge can't see it, he can't score it right, or she can't score it right. I'm screwing them up. Get the hell out of the way. It's a whole process. So yeah, I take every time I can. I come back and take your course and will. Is there a demand? Do the commissions need to start putting a demand on their judges and officials? Like, you have to go take courses to qualify for your license for the next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at it. This comes down to, I've said it to you, numerous times, and anybody that takes my courses, look at that license that you're looking for from the state to be a professional MMA referee or something. That is not a right; it's a privilege, and that privilege is given to you based on what you prove you've done or what you're doing to be the best that you can be in our sport. so that you are there as a benefit to the fighters, not a deficit. And so when you're looking at, taking courses, I just taught the Association of Boxing Commission just had their annual conference down in San Diego. And I spent 2 days teaching, 1 day of reffing, 1 day of judging. And, it went really well. There was a lot of people at it. We're talking, there was probably 100 people in the room and stuff. A lot of people are using that as their yearly training to, stay current with their, commission and stuff. And that's fine. But you need to do things even beyond that. You need to stay current in this sport because things are just happening at an incredibly fast rate. The evolution of our sport and what is being done, it's just different all the time. And it's about every 6 months there's a nice little change that occurs. And you've got to stay up on it. So if you're doing yearly training, that's your one thing. You're doing yearly training. You're 6 months behind every year, which only takes. And so after 2 years, you're a year behind. After 4 years, you're 2 years behind, and you're never going to catch up. You've got to stay current with it. And the states need to start putting these types of criteria out there for people saying, hey, you need to be current in this. The real problem is, a lot of athletic commissions come with not knowing a lot about MMA. They came from boxing. And the whole perception of boxing was, oh, we don't want officials training where fighters train and anything like that. This morning I was at, a local gym here that's a big time boxing gym with a ton of world champion fighters. And I'm working with boxers inside the ring, working with them. Why? Because that will make me better when I do that sport. And that's what I should be doing. It doesn't matter if, there's a fighter there that eventually someday I may be officiating. All I do is I tell the commission, I've been in the gym with that guy. I have nothing to do with him, but I've been there. If you don't want to put me on this fight, don't put me on this fight.
Yeah, and that actually saved me a couple times when doing amateur, the Tough Enough in Vegas. The couture guys are always in there fighting. I was like, look, all the couture guys, I train with them. I know all these guys. Like, if you want me on it, don't put me on it. They're like, no, actually, we want you on this one because this one's going to be a little heated. We actually want you on this one because one could be a little bit more dangerous than normal. It's got nothing to do with the fact you train with this guy, the fact that both these guys are really good and we need you in there for your expertise. I was like, oh, okay. All right. I thought for sure I was like, all right, I'm only going to be able to ref 2 fights this whole card because everything else is all couture guys. Like, I'm screwed. I'm like, no, it's fine. But so it's, open honesty is the easiest way around it. Now that I'm reffing more, like I told you before, when I first started reffing, I wanted to come in because I saw reffing and judging was bad. Like I saw it was bad at MMA. It just isn't up to par with what I think it needs to be, and it's hurting us because guys are going to decisions and getting beat off a bad decision. Guys are getting beat because the judge doesn't, or the ref doesn't know where the fight's actually going. They're stopping stuff that's illegal. They're letting illegal stuff go. So that's why I jumped in. Now that I'm reffing and I'm maybe 175 bouts into it. You're 20,000 bouts into it at this point. And I'm like,
a lot.
And I'm like, holy crap, the reffing is horrible. It's not bad. It's fucking horrible. I'm watching some of these guys, and for me, I've only had to work at the amateur level. I'm like, you legitimately have your pro card at some other state? Are you kidding me? Like they let you ref? They really let you ref. Like I'm embarrassed kind of to see that you can ref because it's scary. Like people can get hurt. People can get hurt bad. So I keep trying to push other fighters to get into it, but it's not every fighter's going to be good at it. I just happen to have a passion for reffing, so it makes it easy for me. Did you see something else during the Rousey fight? And you ref the Rousey fight. Did you see something else in there that we didn't see, that we didn't catch at home, that made you go, wow? Because at home, I watch Ronda. I'm always on the fence with Ronda. Is it too much too soon? Is she just, because she's really good at what she does. I've always said she's 5 years ahead of every other girl in the weight class. I've always said that, but I'm still kind of, is she the real deal? Is she not the real deal? I watched this last fight. I'm like, that's it. I got to put my hands up. She's the real deal. Like, this is it. I cannot say anything bad about her ever again. She is the real deal at the weight class. That's just what it is.
So you're finally gonna get a person and say, okay, yeah, she's for real.
She's legit, man. She's fucking legit. There's no way around it.
Yeah, she the one thing that she's obviously came in with, her grappling experience and her judo. Her judo is at a level that most girls can't deal with what she does. They're just not experienced enough. They haven't done enough in the gym. They, even though they can learn stuff, the way she does and the way she off balances people and brings them from one side back to the other, it's so hard to get to the point where you know how to stop that. She's so good at it. But now her hand speed, you watch her hand speed. Her hand speed is beautiful. And, it's not only the speed that she's doing something, you watch the balance that she's doing it with. That's what impresses me. And that's what, what really started Betch going down the wrong road in that fight was she got hit with a left hook, and that left hook absolutely just stunned her. And it was the way the left hook was thrown was instead of the big dip or the big coming around, she did this bip, and it was exactly like a well-trained fighter's going to throw it. It had power, and it was fast and short. And that's what caught Betch and made Betch go, oh, I got a problem. She even reached out. She poked Ronda in the eye, and Ronda just shrugged it off and went after her and then landed the right hand that hit her kind of behind the ear, and that was the one that put the lights completely out. But she's doing things at a level, both in her striking now. That's the difference that I see in her. Her striking, she has balance in what she does. She doesn't make a lot of the mistakes that you see a lot of fighters making in trying to hit with so much power that they're trying to bring things in these large patterns and in a big space. She's got things in there compact. She's doing things in a short, it's the short punches she's landing. That's the thing that's telling me, man, her striking is really getting good. Edmund's done a good job in training her, and she's listened, and that's the best part about girls. They listen. They're not like guys that think, oh, I know how to do it. They listen, and then they continually just do something. And if you work as hard as Ronda works at getting better, you're going to be good at it. Now her hand speed, their balance, and the way that she's able to throw with power now, you don't see 135-pound girls knocking people out with punches. It doesn't happen a lot. They do it with knees, they can do it with kicks, or they do it in a multitude. But there was, multiple shots that landed, but you don't see 135-pound girls knocking other girls completely unconscious.
I mean, she starched it. It's amazing. And I said forever, it's like, oh, Conor McGregor is the biggest star MMA that UFC has right now. Conor McGregor is the biggest star. Ronda's the biggest crossover star, but Conor McGregor is the biggest star. Then I saw the ratings come out for this one. Not even close. It's not even close. Like, I mean, it wasn't. We're talking like 300,000 or 400,000 more pay-per-view buys. We're talking 300,000 or 400,000. We're talking about 1 million to 1.5 million more of the undercard being watched for 34 seconds. And they're complaining about everyone's. You're a star when someone's complaining about, oh, geez, I paid $60 for a 34-second fight. Well, no, you pay $60 to watch the undercard. Unlike boxing, like we're actually interested in the undercard too. But it's not. Don't yell at Ronda for smashing people up for 34 seconds. That's how it goes.
Man. The big thing, if you look at it, man, she's that transitional fighter. She's bringing in not people that are hardcore fans. She's bringing in housewives. She's bringing in little girls. She's bringing in, movie stars and athletes that are tuning in when they normally wouldn't tune in for a show. They're tuning in because it's Ronda fighting. And, dude, she has transcended just the fight aspect and brought in the other portion of things to where she's the biggest star they have by far.
Yeah, I think she left today or leaves tomorrow to go to film a movie with Wahlberg now. Like, she's off filming another movie. It's like, all right. And then she comes back and she has to face Misha Tate for the third time. So it's like, all right, I'll be back and I'll get in training camp. And while she's gone, she'll be hitting mitts and she'll be training when she's off on set. She did it when she was in Expendables 3. I talked to Randy about it. It's just what she does. She trains all the damn time. She's one of those girls and learns her lines and knows her position, and that's what she does. No. Well, John, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate sorting everything out.
Dude, she's done a great job of compartmentalizing her life.
Yeah, she really has. Yeah,
my
she really
pleasure
has.
all the time.
So, yeah. It's going to be. I can't wait to have you on again for the next official. I hate to say official mess up or screw up. The next time there's a question.
Yeah, no.
Well, there's always going to be a question because really, to be honest with you, because the sport is so new, most of the fans don't really know what all the rules are. They really don't understand that, even something as simple as like my fingers going through the fence versus my fingers grabbing the fence are two different things. My hand going through the fence is legal. This is illegal. It's just like just knowing that stuff, like fans don't understand it. So there's always something that comes up that's not as bad as Jake Shields and Palhares. It's there's always something else that comes up too. So we'll have you on again really soon.
Sounds good, brother. You take care.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it.
No problem, man.